Welcome back to Movie Trailer Reviews on the MTR Network. It's your host, Chris, and I got Phenom here. We're here to review an A24 production, a horror film. It Comes at Night. Secure within a desolate home as an unnatural threat terrorizes the world, a man has established a tenuous domestic order with his wife and son. But this will soon be put to the test when a desperate young family arrives seeking refuge. It is directed and written by Trey Edward Shults, and it stars Joel Egerton, Christopher Abbott, Carmen Ejogo, and who else is in this? Calvin Harris Jr., Riley Keough. I don't know how to say her last name. That's pretty much it, because nobody else in this fucking matter. I mean, it's a really, really small cast of people here. It's a really small film. I have my own thoughts, but I know let's start with I know Phenom's gonna go with first, because this is gonna be the first thing that I think is gonna throw people off from watching this film. So, Phenom, you want to go ahead and take
that old girl from Get Out, her boyfriend on Girls is in this.
Okay, I have no idea who that is, so I don't give a shit.
So the white chick from Get Out, Marnie, she plays Marnie on HBO's Girls, you know, Lena Dunham's fuck show.
Yeah.
And the guy in this film that tries to break into the house, Chris Abbott, played her boyfriend in the first two seasons. And he ended up later in the seasons becoming like a junkie, a swole, bearded junkie. So it was nice to see that he still kind of had a bit of the fit and definitely still the beard. But sometimes I get him confused with Jon Snow. He looks like a fake.
When he's really dirty.
Yeah, he definitely looks like a ripoff. He looked like Jon Snow, Jon Snow's favorite cousin.
Great value, Jon Snow, yo.
Great value, trade value, Jon Snow.
Store brand Jon Snow.
Yep. So nice to see him tied to a tree in this. And I was like, I think that's Christopher Abbott. Still fawning over Marnie, I see. Breaking into people's houses. But yeah, it's a nice little fun fact for anybody who's watched Girls and remembers him. Especially with Marnie playing in Get Out and Edward, what was it, Trey Edward Shults talking about how much films like The Witch and Get Out aided him in how he went about doing this horror film. See, those films influenced him with this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's not really what you know that's not what I was talking about.
Yeah, sadly I do.
Yeah. So wanna get in there and
I
feel like we should leave with that. 'Cause I think that's the most important thing. I mean, it's
that we do what he didn't do. That we do what the marketing team for this film didn't do.
Right, because I mean, and because
nobody felt they needed to do, even that actually a lot of the reviews now are doing. If you are paying attention to any interview about this movie or any review that is praising it and loving it, it's right there in the title. The title for this movie is bullshit. It is total bullshit. And if you can get past that, you can salvage what's here. But if you have been turned on by what arguably I think is an amazing title for a horror film, it's one of those things. Like, I guess I relate it to kind of, I have all these ideas that I come up with, like names for podcasts that I think are great names for podcasts, but never podcasts that I would do. And I'm like, man, I really wish I could use that podcast name, but I don't have time to do any new podcasts. I feel like that's what happened here with this film. You know, Trey wrote a film while grieving over the death of his father. Mm-hmm. And he had this awesome idea for a title that did not fit this film at all. And what you will notice throughout his interviews, written and video, there's some on YouTube, he struggles to make this title fit this flick. Every time he gets asked about the title, it's a very vague response, or I think it kind of, when you get into it, really, it captures certain aspects and there are things like the title more and more starts to make sense. It's the most bullshit answer for a title that is clearly a marketing ploy I've ever seen. And I wish that he would have just said, it's a cool fucking title. Because I hopped on Reddit after we left the theater and I was like, man, I need to figure out what's going on with this title of this movie. Like, what the fuck am I missing?
It was really bothering people. It was really bothering.
It happens. Like in a film, if in the horror film, It Follows, which I thought was an amazing film last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot you can miss in that film the first time you watch it. There's many layers to It Follows that deal with like teenage pregnancy and sexuality and a lot of the things that like these things actually exist in that movie, but you might not get them the first time or the third time you watch it. So there are a lot of breakdowns about that, and it's very genius. I feel like that's not here with this film at all. I feel like this film is very fucking basic in the message or the theme, and that they do a lot of amazing camera and cinematography work.
Yes.
And that's really what people should be harping on.
And that's why this film, this is one of those reviews where I told you this when I was leaving the film. I might hate doing this review because this is one of those films that is a good film, but it's a film I would never recommend to anybody to go see. Because unless you are an inspiring filmmaker or cinematographer, then yeah, go see it for the technical aspect of it. But as an audience member going to watch and enjoy a film, no. And going back to the title thing, this would be like, and we talk about this, especially me and Rob, we always talk about this. This would be like if me and Rob, after talking about our Toilet Snakes movie, did an entire movie and there were neither toilets nor snakes in the fucking movie. That's what this fucking film title is like. And while it doesn't mean that the film isn't good, and in this case, I actually think the film isn't good, but it doesn't mean that the film isn't good. But it goes to this idea of, as an audience, the title of the film makes you go into a film with a certain expectation. So when you go in here, and that's the other thing too I couldn't stand about reading some of these interviews and these reviews. When you go in here and the director and writer are so fucking pretentious that they think they don't have to do the basics. Or they think that they're not making a film for the audience, which is what this film is not for an audience to go and watch. It is not. It's one of those art house horror films, and I've realized really quickly, I am not an art house fan. This is the same thing that happened with Hannah. It was an art house action film. I am not an art house fan of films because they are so fucking pretentious, and they think they're so much deeper than they really are. I've been sitting here reading some of these interviews and reading some of the things he's been talking about this film, going, motherfucker, your film's not that deep.
It's not.
It's not that deep. Like, I could forgive the title. I could forgive, the marketing. What I can't forgive is this film doesn't do the basics. Like, I was reading one interview who talks about, Trey talking about how, well, we just drop you into this world, this post-apocalyptic world. We never explain what's going on, what happened to the rest of the people that are just sick. And I'm like, that's fine. I'm okay with that. I don't need to know exactly.
I'm completely fine with that.
Yeah, I don't need to know what happened. But you need it, because then what got me later on in the interview then goes, yeah, one time we kind of break down and, we don't even let them, even the people there don't follow their own rules. I'm like, wait a minute, that makes no fucking sense. Like, as a story, the film doesn't make any sense. There are certain things that happen that don't make any sense. They don't answer. And the director and writer, Trey, thinks that because he's got this idea in his head and he's doing this, again, wonderful cinematography, that he doesn't have to answer those questions for an audience who's watching the film. I'm sorry, but you do. It doesn't matter how suspenseful your film is. It doesn't matter how well it's shot. If I'm sitting there as an audience member going, that doesn't make any fucking sense. And when the film ends, that doesn't mean that, oh, well, I'm getting you thinking. No, you're making me think your film is stupid. And that's what this is. This is a stupid fucking film.
There's really nothing. I think what he does in these interviews And I would love to sit down and talk to this dude about this film so I could ask legit questions as a person who watched the film from the viewpoint of, a general audience and not a critic. Because I'm not looking at this film and going, oh man, I get it. It's just so brave and it's so reckless and it's just so open and it doesn't have it's not defined, or you can kind of just watch it however you want and you got to fill in the blanks yourself. And I'm just not that type of person. That's not what I do. I go to watch a film and I'm like, are you telling me a good story?
I don't go to a movie for a choose your own adventure movie. That's not what this is. That's not. I don't go pick your own ending and figure out how it. No, that's not how this works.
No, and I think it's a difference between what does the ending mean for you versus figure everything out your fucking self. Like, right. That's not why I buy an $18 ticket and go to the movie theater. I don't mind a film that makes me think about things. I don't mind a film that requires multiple watches and has layers. That's fine. I have an issue when you have a film that just does things and that, like Chris has said, don't make any sense. And your explanation for why these things don't make sense is, oh, well, as the audience member in this film, what you don't have is omniscient view. That's fine. I'm cool with that. But your excuse then furthermore goes, so you just see everything the way through the eyes of one main character. And if you're a person in this situation and you're being, you're living through this dystopian whatever may be going on, so you have only the viewpoint of them. You have only the knowledge of them. So if they've been huddled up in a fucking closet trying to avoid sun rays for 13 days, and that's what the movie is, the only thing you know is darkness, closet door handles as the viewer of the film, and you don't learn any new information. And that's pretty much what goes on in this film. Things happen, and these people don't even have I don't want to say the decency, that's not really a good word. They don't have the care to sit and talk things out to try to figure them out. Not to mention the film is misleading in itself. Not just the title is misleading, but there are things they do. There are things they do with the dog. There are things that they do with this concept of night and this theme of darkness. There are things that they do with certain characters and imagery that they show you throughout the film in dream sequences that fit the title and were perfect for a trailer, but in the gist of the film itself are misleading as hell. And I think the payout at the end for me just wasn't fucking worth it. It just didn't do a goddamn thing for me. And I'm a bit upset. I kind of want to, but I do want to see the film again because it is a beautiful film. Like, I love the cinematography. I love what they did with the with the lenses they chose to use. They're more like aspherical lenses and whatnot. That is amazing, and that's perfect for a horror film. Yeah. What I hate is the story. I don't think the plot moves anywhere at all. And I think he did that on purpose because, again, this was a story that he threw together while he was really going through it over the death of his father. And he's, this personal experience that he had being so close to someone who was dying and died.
Yeah,
there are lines in this movie that he admits he actually said to his father. I think he said the opening line in the film from the female lead. I don't know what her name is.
Yeah, Carmen.
Yeah, that line was actually something he said to his father before his father died. I don't find anything wrong with that, and I don't find it personal experiences, helping build a story for a film. I think that's awesome, and I think that's great. What I'm not going to do though is, coddle you through this half thought out, thrown together. What can you make out of these random 7 letters, a Scrabble piece of fucking film? That's just not what I'm here for, man. I just don't. This film, The Witch, is a better story. It's a boring film for a lot of it, but the payout of The Witch in the end fits what the film was building towards. The payout for this in the end is
there's no payout.
It's cheap. It's a cheap payout for a film that's basically horror contagion. Well, that's what it is.
Well, look, so a couple things. One, like you say, going back to the cinematography is great. They also were changing the aspect ratio in different scenes. Like there's some nightmare dream sequences and then the reality, and then the way they blend those together. Like all that is fine. Like you said, this film feels like he was grieving, which is fine, and he used cinematography to handle his grief. Again, artists do this kind of stuff all the time. Fine with it. Like you said, going back to the story, it's not as. And the problem is, I think he was trying to write a story, and he kept changing the story as he went along. And by the time, and he was, instead of writing the story for the story, he was writing the story for the shots. For the shots he could get in the film. And again, makes for a beautiful looking film and a really interesting film in that way. And even a suspenseful film. They're very tense and suspenseful shots, and we'll get into some of the character interactions later on. But that's there. But the problem is, I never think about this when I was driving home. You know what this film reminds me of? The Village.
Bruh, I was going to say the one about the plants, but I really didn't want to slam him that hard. But that was the first thing I thought of when I left this film, was the M. Night film with Mark Wahlberg about the fucking plants.
Oh, The Happening. Yeah.
Yes. I've actually been sitting here trying to figure out how I could word that, not to slam him, to say that this film is as bad as that, but to also kind of convey the point of, I don't understand how you can be pissed at a film like The Happening and not be pissed at this film.
So the reason why I say that The Village is, there's a lot of aspects to this film that are in The Village. The whole aspect of, hey, the father, the interaction between, what was it, the kid supposed to be, was it Trevor? Was the name of the kid? Yeah, and his father, Travis. And his father kind of reminds me of some of the interactions between the father in The Village and the blind girl and the, what is it, what's his name? Oh, God. Joaquin Phoenix. His character, things like that. The whole aspect of, you know, they believe there's something in the woods and they have to follow these rules or it'll be a problem. Like, all that stuff is just like The Village. It's all there. All kind of the same. But be perfectly honest, and I know people who do not like The Village, the payoff in The Village is way better than the payoff in this film.
But The Village sets up that story and that payoff in the very beginning of the film. The Village shows you from get-go that this is a governed society, that there are representatives of these people and they are making decisions for these people. It is a politically driven society.
Exactly.
And you're doing what they believe is right in the best interest of the village. This film does not do any of that. It doesn't set up anything like that. It really tries to hang on to the back, or it tries to ride the back of Joel Edgerton and Travis as being good enough actors to carry what potentially really is a plotless piece of work.
Yeah.
They're just like, man, just look really, really frightened. Look like the father that's really trying to protect his child from everything, but realizes he has no idea how to protect him from anything that's happening because he doesn't know what the hell is happening. I get all of that. It sounds amazing in theory. I don't think it plays out well on screen. And I'm not going to give this dude a pass for not using things like cheap jump scares, because the things that have bothered you, did you read any interviews? I get those things. The one thing that has pissed me off that I have seen in every review and in every interview, and is the leading title for everyone from fucking Slash to fucking Slate to was it the AV Club and any other site that's just praising the hell out of this film, is that it's scary. And to me, it wasn't scary.
It's suspenseful.
It's suspenseful and it's tense, but it's not. There's one scene that was scary, but you see it coming a mile a fucking way, and I wasn't scared by it. They had one scare that was sound driven that I thought was like, okay, that was a good use of sound, and they do good. They do have good uses of sound and visuals in this. But as far as it being the scariest film of this year or a scary film in general, yeah, I'll wait till September when fucking It comes out. Okay, we'll see scary then, because this shit ain't scary. It's nothing. It Follows is way scarier than this shit. It's way scarier than this movie.
Like, it just like
it's not a horror. Like, I get that it's supposed to be a horror film, but it's not a horror film.
You know what it is? It reminds me of It's like the later seasons of The Walking Dead, where it's no longer about like zombies and stuff like that, and it's really just about this group of people. I mean, because again, they never set up what the problem is. You find out later on. You find out bits and pieces here that there's some kind of contagion, and they never talk about what really happens. So you have this family with Joel Edgerton who's playing Paul, Carmen is playing Sarah, and then Kelvin is Travis, and they're the family, together, and they're living out in this house, and you have no idea how they got in this house. Then you later find out that Paul was a teacher. I think he said it was.
The history teacher.
He was a history teacher. So the other thing too is they never tell you how long the time has been. So it's never a long time. They don't tell you how much. I don't
have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that.
Nope. Again, no problem with that either. You come across at one point. So you're in this house. At one time at night, someone's getting they had done stuff with the grandfather that died and stuff like that. But they find out that Christopher Abbott's character Will, he's breaking into their house. He's trying to find food and water for his family. He thought the house was abandoned, and so they tie him up outside, leave him out there. They're trying to find out if he's infected and all these other things. First question I had is, he says that his family's like 50 miles away.
Yeah, dude. But
he was on foot.
Bruh.
And there's several times in this film where, and you find out that, his family wasn't that far away. So I'm like, how did he get there? Because that doesn't make any sense. There are several things they do in this film where Will's character lies. And you, the audience, catch it, and it's supposed to be building up tension between who do you trust, who's really infected, and stuff. I'll be honest, just none of it is done well. So even if you take out the we're dropping the setting, and it's just this one. I think at one point they try to say the house is like a character of its own. Fine, I had no problem with that. Now I have no problem with the small cast of, hey, you have this guy with Will, he has his wife, and they have a little son there. And then you have Travis, Paul, and what was her name? I can't remember. Sarah. You have these two families, and it gets to a point of, and maybe let me ask you this: I felt like the point of the families turning on each other, it came out of almost nowhere. Like I felt like
it came out of nowhere, and they rushed it,
right?
And they waited way too fucking long to do it. They waited too long to build the tension. Because legit, for a film that doesn't want to explain anything that's going on, they have a fucking family building montage.
Right.
Later in the later middle of this half of this film. And I was like, okay, I see them trying to develop some story. I see that there's going to be some tension. And then we'll finally find out what comes at night, I guess, or whatever. But they're just things that they do that are misleading. One of them is that pretentious fucking red door. That fucking door, and that being a cheap thrill for people in this film, and it providing so many questions and so no answers is not okay with me. And I've read that in a bunch of reviews and interviews as well. The door is a symbolism for this. It's like when you're watching The Shining. It's like when you're yada.
No.
As if the door didn't mean shit.
No.
Because if there's a door between you and the outside world, and we're actually talking about something that's coming to get you, that makes sense. But when we're talking about some phenomenon that is, a contagion that we have no idea how anybody is contracting this shit, that red door don't mean shit. It especially don't mean shit when y'all are like, we don't go out at night, but we go out in the daytime. Like, illnesses only get you at night and not during the day. We randomly taking our mask off and on. Like, we know when the air is good and when it's not good, or we understand it all how people are contracting this shit. There are just so many fucking plot holes and logic in this film. And the more oh my God, I feel like you now. The more I start to think about it, I start to get pissed off at people praising this.
Yeah. The more you think about it,
not giving you anything.
Yeah. This film is getting praise for not being a film. It is the Donald Trump of films. It is getting praise for doing the bare minimum, and then when it doesn't do it, go, well, it's new to this, so it's okay. No, we've seen better films that handle this stuff. The Walking Dead handles this kind of thing every fucking week. You've seen other films. I'm sorry. Listen, I know people don't like The Village. Hey, I'm not even saying The Village is a great film. The Village does this better. Like, everything does it better. The only thing this film has over anything else is the cinematography, and it looks great. I mean, there are so many different things. Like, there are things in here that I see that I could write as a better film. Like, there's a moment in here where they do a little family bonding with all the family kind of montage thing where Will is teaching Travis how to cut wood. And you can see the look on Paul's face, and you almost want to be like, oh, is Paul developing jealousy because Will is getting a closer relationship with Travis? Because it's one thing they kind of play on, too. And I think it comes from Trey's issue with his own father of, you know, the issue there. Like, sometimes you hear Paul talking to Travis because Travis has come off as... He's creepy. Kind of... He's creepy. He feels like he's not...
weird kid.
He's not fully... He's supposed to be 17. I feel like he's not developed to 17 mentally. And they never explain that. And because they don't explain that, you're left going, what is wrong with this kid? The things he does. Like, his unnatural attachment to his grandfather's dog. And he does some dumb things with that. It's like, you feel like he's 17 in age, but he might be more like 13 or 14 in some places. So when you
see... so that aspect I understood. And we both own pets. Right. That aspect of the film I got. Because if you are in a society where you're a young male, you're 17, the world as you know it has ended. Y'all just burned your grandfather. Okay. Y'all are literally cooped up, locked up in his house. You are stuck with your mother. Can you imagine having to be stuck with your mother and father as a teenager all day, every day, and there's nobody else for you to associate with? So his dog is the only, outlet that he gets as far as being able to interact with something else besides his parents, that house, or chopping wood outside, which he doesn't even know how to do because his father won't let him do that until Chris Abbott's character shows up. So I got the weird relationship he had with the dog.
Oh, no. I mean, at one point when he runs off, like that to me was like,
I know it's stupid. I know it's stupid, but I can't say that I would not have done the same thing at 17 if I was him.
Okay.
Because that's your dog. Like that is your family. To me, that's almost to him similar as your little brother or sister running off and you going after them. That's the only other thing that he has that keeps him, sane in this house. And if he doesn't have this dog outside of the crazy nightmares that he's having, he doesn't have anything. Yes, he is a creepy, weird kid. He's also the epitome of shelter. And like I got all of that, but I felt like at a certain point they went out of their way to make him weird, like uncomfortably weird. And they do that when they introduce Sarah's character.
No, you mean Kim.
Oh, Kim's character. My bad.
Sarah's
Kim's
mom.
character.
Yeah.
And I felt like I don't understand, and I got why they did it. That scene actually makes sense to me why he did this, because he uses it later for a dream sequence. I got it. I got what fear he was trying to show, mixed in with 17-year-old teenage puberty and shit. Mm-hmm. I got that. I think for it to have been such a well done blend of two scenes, or the relativity between the two scenes being so well done and executed in this film, the payoff is bullshit to have that scene.
The other thing too is one of the key aspects of the film comes down to the trust between these two families breaking down. Obviously when you have a contagion, and this can't be a spoiler because anybody would figure this out, there becomes going to be a point when people start wondering who's infected and who's not. Right. And the problem comes down to this. If you're going to do that and have that, you need to at some point establish what the rules of infection are. You need to establish something. You can't just go, oh, well, it's just that, and make it. You can't do that. You have to establish what the threat is. Because here's the thing. It's like, yeah, you get infected. Do you die? Because the grandfather died at the beginning of the film. We know that, but he was old also. So what happened? I had some questions of, do you become a zombie? Is this a zombie movie that they're trying to, like, what is it that happens? What is the fear that you get from this? Because, again, they're locking this. They made this whole thing of it comes at night. They have the red door to keep people from coming in. Well, if that's just to keep people from coming in, right?
Which it doesn't work very well, by the way.
Uninfected people, it doesn't make any sense. Like, there's a scene with the dog later on that makes you go, "How the fuck did that happen?"
That's what ruined the film for me. That scene right there. If I keep forgetting this dude. If Trey was legit going for what he claims the theme of this is, and if he was like, the title is just the title, and you really shouldn't focus on that. You need to focus on the story, this family, and the fear of the unknown, and it killing you. And these are real things that we worry about. We worry about epidemics like this wiping out humanity. Okay, if that's what you're going for, the fucking scene with the dog at the end and the reason that the family ends up coming to head, like bumping heads, shit makes no fucking sense. And to be like, it's because you're seeing it from the viewpoint of Travis, so you don't know everything. No. First of all, this is the worst door that's supposed to keep things out and keep y'all in.
And they've already established only one person has a key.
Right, twice in this film, this door has shown to be useless. Okay, but the whole scene in itself, which he says he wasn't going for cheap scares, that was a cheap scare scene. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason they did it, and they did it for cheap scare, and they did it for gore. Outside of that, they don't address it at all. After that, they ask a couple questions, and then they're like, "Okay, I think we need to handle this a different way now." And this is in the last 10 or 15 minutes of the film at this point. I'm being nice saying 15 minutes. I really think all of this happened in the last 5 to 8 minutes of the movie.
Mm-hmm. I think it's the last 15.
How long is this movie? Like, what was the running time?
I think it's like 90 minutes.
So basically, at the 82-minute mark is when you finally, get to see savage human shit. And I just...
Again, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't, because you get to the part where it could be interesting, right? Like, you're right, that the dog scene to me was, by the time I got to the end of the film, I hated it. At the moment, I was like, okay, cool, we're finally going to get some information here, right? Because again, this is not me spoiling the film, because it's something they say in the trailer. Paul is the only one that he says in the trailer. It's like, I'm the only one that has that key. I lock it at night. I'm the only one that has it. If I don't have it, my wife has it, right? So they're sleeping in their room. How did the door get unlocked? Who put the dog in there? Now, you could go with this whole idea that maybe somehow, Travis had somehow, I don't even know how he would copy a key, but had somehow gotten, like, again, there's no explanation for how this works. There's no
film doesn't deserve any of that. What you just said, as far as trying to figure out, it doesn't deserve that because it doesn't create a lane for you to start addressing it doesn't give you any evidence to work with to come up with your own narrative of how that happened.
Exactly. They don't like there's nothing that they established earlier in the film that gives you an answer for that, and so then. The back half of not even the back half, the last bit of the film where the families are basically at each other's throats, I can't get into that. I can't get into that argument. And it is a very human, tense moment. There's a really tense moment, and they're shot really well. I can't get into it because my brain's still going back to how did we even get here? And that's that's why I'll be honest. This is why I cannot stand these quote unquote art house shit house films. I can't stand them because they allow the writers and directors to get away with things like this, with not answering questions that any other film would get killed for. Could you imagine if Wonder Woman did this?
Bruh, no, Batman versus Superman did do this for people. Like, this is exactly what people were upset at Batman versus Superman over. Why the whole Lex Luthor shit? That's this film. This is why is he doing this? Why are Bruce and Kal-El even fighting.
I'll be honest, this is worse than that.
Whole shit going on.
I'll be honest,
Lois.
this is even worse than that because I mean those films you get at least.
I actually think Batman versus Superman explained it much better.
Yes,
than this. Like made a better attempt at explaining some shit that I think people just didn't care about, and I think that it did it in very trivial ways that you might have missed, but it does explain it. But if you were pissed at that film for not explaining shit the first time you saw it, trust me, I don't understand. Not trust me, I don't understand how you can accept that shit from a horror film.
No, I don't understand. I don't, and I think to me, I'll be honest. Story wise, this film is lazy as shit. It's lazy, and it's bad. It is a bad story. It is not.
Good, I'm sickness film.
Go and read the interviews. Go and watch the interviews and watch the pretentiousness. Like at one point, I think somebody even brings up the word pretentious. At one point, I'm not trying to be pretentious, but yes, you meant to be pretentious because that's what this film is. You're basically saying, "Well, I understand. You don't understand what I was going for." No, I understand, and that's the worst part to me. I understand exactly what he was going for.
It's not even that tight. That flavor of pretentious, Chris.
Right.
He didn't say that in the interviews I read. He didn't say you don't understand what I'm going for. He said what you don't understand is intentional.
Right.
That's what he said. Basically, he was basically telling you, I told you bits and pieces of a story intentionally, and I'm not going to tell you anything else. Take it or fucking leave.
You know what this is? This is you going to a Subway to get a sandwich. First of all, you shouldn't have gone to a Subway to get a sandwich in the first place. But you did, right? So you went into a Subway to get a sandwich. And you go to a guy who's like, look, you know what? I want an Italian sub. So the dude points to you over to the across the room to where the meat and cheese are, tells you to make your own fucking sandwich. So you walk over there because you're already pissed. You walk over there, and when you find out is there's no meat, cheese, and bread. There's just soup. That's what this fucking film is.
I would say that, but I think it's even more complex than that. You walk and I love the analogy. You walk over there after this asshole has told you to make your own soup. There's one loaf of bread, not two, for you to make a sandwich. There's a piece of meatball cut in half. You ask for an Italian sub, and the cheese is blue cheese sprinkles. And you're like, and this is the best part. You paid before you were told to make your own sandwich, so you get your money back.
Right.
And you get to choose between a half-eaten bag of chips or a cookie crumb.
And when you ask to see the manager, he goes, "Well, sir, this was all intentional. Don't you know? We meant to do this.
You didn't read the sign? Intentional Subway."
Right.
Pretentious Subway.
Pretentious Subway. It's just, God, man, like
that for a reason.
Again, this is gonna be interesting. What would you score this film? Because again, from a technical film point of view, like camera work, sound, things like that, I'm with you. I almost want to go and watch it again. But as a story, it is trash. I don't know. I don't know how to score that.
Okay, so first of all, you need to score this film based on where you're watching it. Because if you can get up and go do some other shit, I don't see you finishing this film. All right? That's just me. Now, maybe y'all are having date night at home, boot flicks and chill. Maybe that's what you're doing. And you're like, we're going to watch this. We're going to finish this 90-minute film. All right? But first of all, I'm rating this film based on you went to the theaters to see this shit. Okay? Because I truly feel like that's the only way you can get somewhat appreciative things out of it.
But you gotta go to one of those art house theaters. You gotta go to one that serves wine. And
I guess
it's really you gotta go to one. You gotta get the setting.
I just don't think you need anything distracting you from nothing going on the screen for this movie. Because I feel like once you get distracted, you're gonna come back in and be like, "Oh, still nothing's happening." I'll go back to texting my friend.
Well, that's what I'm saying. this is why I think you need an art house film, art house theater. If you walk into a theater that's showing Wonder Woman, and also showing this, you're gonna walk out and go see Wonder Woman.
I don't know why you wouldn't, and you'll probably walk right in on the part where she goes to No Man's Land.
Right. So, yeah, I don't know. So
not coming back. As an art house indie film, it's gonna piss Chris off. As an art house indie film, from just the way it's shot and the way sound is used, and the actual acting of Joel Edgerton and the kid that plays Travis, I think it's a 3 out of 5.
Out of 10.
Oh, my bad. Not a 3 out of 10. It's my bad. I do that.
Oh my god! Excited! I was like, oh shit! Yeah.
No, I'm not doing it. It's like a 6.5, 7 out of 10. Okay. If you watching this shit at home and you rent it from the red box, or you watch it on some device that you shouldn't be watching stuff on, it's like a 4.
Don't bootleg this, because I don't want you going to jail for this. Like, you can't go to jail for bootlegging this.
And you get in jail, and they're like, so what came? That's the thing, dog. Nothing came.
The police.
Nothing comes.
The FBI knocking on my door. Oh man, I'm not even mad at your score, because honestly, I was gonna give it a 6.5.
Okay,
I was gonna give it a 6.5 because honestly, it's the story that knocks down. You said what?
I just didn't want to take anything away from it being a beautiful horror film, because it is a beautiful horror film, even though I hate calling it a horror film.
Yeah, I mean,
it's more a disaster film.
And that's where I'm at with it. It's like I can't like give it a fuck you, because it is technically, from a technical film point of view, it's a great film. But when you add in the story, like, honestly, you know what I would almost do with this film? I'd almost want to see, like, almost like if they did even less dialogue. There's not a lot of dialogue in this film, but even less. I don't know. It's just the payoff for me. If the film at least had a payoff, I'd probably get it a 7.
I remember what I was thinking in the car. On the car ride home, I was like, I think this is going to be my first fuck you of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be a different type. It's not, man, I hate this film. I hate when people do this. This is trash. Like, I don't even understand how this got a budget. Fuck you for making me sit through this. Fuck you for being born. Fuck you for having a writing hand type of film. Like, that's not, I was more going to be like, it's a 6.5 out of 10 fuck you film.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really do watch the story and think about the plot holes and think about the logic behind it and the pretentiousness of the director, of the creator and the writer and the director. And it's all fuck you. But everything else is a 6.5 out of 10. So it's like a positive fuck you. It's like it's a you know what you did. Fuck you, dude. You know what you did. Fuck you. That's what it is. It's not a fuck you for breathing, bitch. Fuck you. It is a fuck you. You know what you did, you asshole. But I'm sure people are gonna like this film.
Yeah, like I said, it's one of those things I can't. I think I probably would have been even. I would have been more forgiving had I not read some of the I might have been a little more forgiving had I read some of those interviews, because the interviews make him even more pretentious, and I'm like, come on, bro, it's not that deep, it's not that, what you're doing here,
because you don't get anything from the film,
right? It's just, come on, don't do that. It's just,
he saw the Reddit too. I one of the interviews I watched,
mm-hmm.
He saw the Reddit post that I sent you. And he talked about it. He was like, so we did this showing wherever, and I said that I thought that I just gave it this title because I thought the title was cool, and then some dude ran to Reddit and wrote that up there, and it was legit the same Reddit post I sent you, and that's when he tried to expand or expound upon the title and actually didn't say anything more meaningful than I thought it was a really cool title.
Mm-hmm.
He added, and I think it makes more sense the more you think about the film, sir. I'm sure Michael Bay thinks that his Transformers films make more sense the more you think about them. But why you think about them?
The more you think about when you're on coke. Just real quick, shout out to Joel Egerton also from trying to bounce back from being Ramses in that whitewashed piece of crap Exodus Gods and Kings. So
I don't trust his script reading skills, so I completely understand why he was mind blown by this script. Yeah. There was an interview with him too. He's like, I just picked it up and I read it, and I was like, oh. And I was like, really, you got it? Was there stuff in the script that didn't make it into the film?
Oh God, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but shout out to the actor that played Travis. I think for him to actually be the one in the camera's eye the most, and the one who had to emote the most, and for him to be a young black actor, I think he did very good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I thought he did an amazing job.
All right, folks. There you guys have it. That's a review for It Comes at Night, and it does not come at night. Find our reviews on mtrnetwork.net or search for Movie Trailer Reviews on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Music. Just listen to us all there. Till next time, folks. Again, we're 1 week away from NegroCon, so if you have your tickets, we will see you guys next week, and it'll be fun. So, till next time, folks, we are out of here. Peace.
Peace.